Hello, today I want to talk about the Smart Production Smart Wiring. So as you know, in EPLAN, once you draw your schematics, you can, with the element routing, have the optimal route for each wires. So of course, here what we do is we calculate the exact wire length and the wire route, and this can now be transferred onto Smart Production Smart Wiring. So here it's fairly easy. You just export. You export your manufacturing data to Smart Production, which will generate an EPDZ file. So this is, once it's done, this will give you the graphics, those wiring, and everything you need for smart wiring. Now, how does the Smart Production work? You go on a server, and on the server, you actually have this Smart Production, small icon here, and you have to make sure it's running. And usually it's based on your name of the computer or server, and then 9090 is the port that everything is shared from. So it's centralized, it's one installation, Smart Production, centrally on the server. Now, let me just explain to you a little bit what we understand behind the production here. So number one, when we typically build a panel, we have a mechanical assembly to do. We have to cut the ducts, the rails, we have to drill the holes, and we have to do the assembly. And 49% of the time is the wiring. So what we rethought is, of course, if we can prefabricate the wires, that would be super cool, because then all we have to do is actually take over from the application center the pre-drilled backplate and components, assemble the ducts and rails, that's just number one, assemble all the components and do the wiring. And of course, save overall on the production time. This is my goal with Smart Production. So how does Smart Production work? Well, Smart Production, now within that network we're in, you can allow anyone to open an Internet Explorer, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, Safari, whatever. And here what you have to do is primarily just point to the name of the server, semicolon 9090, and this will actually start and get access to the so-called Smart Production. Here, you first start by going in as with your name, and then you can simply log in and open any existing project. Now, these are projects that have already been uploaded, created, and that are probably already under fabrication, and you can run it there. Let me show you how we start from scratch. So when you get in this first window here, you actually go in as an administrator. The default password is 0000, 4 zeros, and then you go in, and here you typically create an order. Based on that EPDZ file, we just have uploaded, okay? So here I'm gonna create an FMC3elec.ele, and I will actually see what kind of files we have here. And the one I'm interested in is the very last one here, is this one here I'm going to upload. And that is the one that I just produced there. Typically, I also will call it with a specific version. In this case here, it's 06WP, okay? And 2025 would be the date or whatever. So this is going to be my order. So remember, the EPZ came from Propanel Routing, which generated this file, and now I'm creating and loading that order. That means now I'm ready to produce this particular order, and I will redo this if I have to repeat that order X number of times. I'm going to do 1 of 10, 2 of 10, 3 of 10, because I want to see the progress of each of these builds, right? For every build, I will have an order. So here, once the data is loaded, it is, you can see, it takes a few minutes to load up, because it's not only loading the wires, it is also loading the components, the ducts, and the rails. Because Smart Production comes in smart wiring licenses and smart mounting licenses. So the smart wiring handles the wiring, the smart mounting handles the ducts and the rails on my side, and the different components. So if you have a very complex system, it's quite interesting to have these smart mounting licenses also, because they will enable you to inject also and help you in the build and assembly up front before you do the wiring. Of course, the smart wiring is ideally coupled with somebody that prefabricated the wires either with a WT or in a manual fashion. And in this particular case, what you save is you save 5 to 7 minutes of cutting, crimping, putting on the ferrules, crimping the ferrules, putting on the labels. So there's a lot of work that is involved when you do the wiring. So most likely up to 8 minutes per wire. What we recommend is have these wires pre-fabricated on WT service here in Canada called wireprint.com that actually will prepare these wires and ship them to you. So you receive final wires with the exact correct length, the exact print source and target and wire number. So you can actually sort them by the different wire length and just install them. So the smart wiring will really support you in showing you not only the details of each of these wires, as you will see in a few seconds when it's going to be finished. Every wire comes with its exact length, color, gauge, where it's ending. So what is the name of the source, the target? Do you need any special tools for that source or target? It's all actually built into the smart wiring. Of course, as we saw earlier in that PowerPoint, before we can even start putting in the wires, we should and we shall actually do the installation. Now, again, like I said, if you have smart mounting licenses aside of your smart wiring licenses, you will also have access to these 2 additional tabs, which are the ducts and rails and the components. You will see in 2 seconds the devices. So this will enable you and help you in the assembly of the panel before you can actually do the wiring. So let's focus on the mechanical portion first. So the mechanical portion being smart mounting. As you can see here, you first pick which subsection you will do. So in my case, I'm going to do the OPB. Okay, OPB was actually the drawing I showed you in EPLAN, where we had this small HMI in the schematics. And I will actually open the OPB. So what it's loading right now from the server, it's actually loading all the data related to ducts, rails, devices, and everything else. So you can see the progress right now is 0, of course, because it's brand new, and I will open it. So here I will start with my first thing is the rails and the ducts. Remember, the drilling has most likely been done by the Retail Application Center. So all the ducts and the rails have been pre-drilled. And now the idea is to go and cut the wire duct 420 millimeters, as you can see, and where it's actually placed here. Okay, you can see the details, the part number, the manufacturer of this part, and exactly where it is to be placed here. So if it's pre-drilled, you just have to install it. And the idea is, of course, once you have done it, you just confirm with here this black red dot by just installing it. So you cut 450 millimeters, you go and install it on the left-hand side, there we go. And we continue, okay? So here, what we also have is we have these graphic icons. They don't need much explanation, you can play around with them. This is basically to see the whole panel itself. You can even look at the panel as its full page here or just as a small section. You can center your zoom again out in. You can pan like this. You can change the depth of your installation. And if you have this rotation here, just click, drag, and it's going to rotate. Going back to the 0 position, zoom in is using your scroller or your 2 fingers if you actually have a Safari or a touch screen. Okay. Now the idea and the intention is, of course, to install, to cut all of these ducts and rails. So this is the first portion of the smart mount. Let's say that you do not do all of them. So I only did 7 out of 23. Fine. I'm going to switch over and show you now the components. Now the components is nice because under the components, you have exactly the same thing. So let's say we focus on the door Here we have a selector switch that is somewhere on here on the side, as you can see. And we can see the manufacturer, we can see all the parts, and there we go. The idea is exactly the same thing. You can actually install them. Now, if you ever find out about some sort of an error, that could always be, you can lock down this part and put in some comments, right? So the comment is to warn the engineering staff about what is wrong, and they will actually come and see this, and they can actually do the corrections. They can also see what exactly was wrong. Nobody else will touch this component because you locked it. You want to unlock it, you just click again on unlock, and now you can install it, okay? So the idea and the intention again is to install all of these components one by one here on the panel. Now let's assume that all of these components have been installed. So what we can do also is to have, I believe, this whole thing here installed by using a global install. That's a possibility. What you can do also is you can actually filter for something. You can also look for something specific. Let's say I want to see where LT4 is, and then it goes down and tells you exactly, okay, here, LT4 has actually a few different components. You have the main component, and behind this you have also the LED, because objects like these are often built up of multiple components, okay? The idea behind the scene is, of course, install all of them, and you can reset the filter there. Another thing you can do, and this is really quite useful, if you're not really sure about what you're doing here, you can actually ask for the schematics. So what this opens is also the schematics, and it actually shows you right down in the middle here where the schematics of that LT4 is and all the details, what wire, what is it connecting to, whatever. This is really interesting because you can use this later down the road also for your testing. Now, let's go now to what we are mostly interested, the connections tied to the smart wiring licenses. This is really cool because here, not only do you see the source, the target, the gauge, and the colors, what I often do is I also go in here in my workflow settings and I change the column scheme so that I can also see the wire length and other details. Like I love to see the wire length here. So I can sort by the wire length. This is how we fabricate the wires, the shortest to the longest one. So here I can see the first wire, and I can see exactly from where this object here goes to here. And if you just rotate this a little bit, you can even see better how it's actually inside here, how it's connected on where it is. Now you can center this back right there, zoom in, zoom out, exactly the same thing as you did on the devices. And the other thing you can do also is, of course, if you cross something like this guy here, or let's see the circuit breaker. No, not this one. I'm just trying to find one where I have a little bit more details about how it's actually connected. I can't find one right now, but in some cases, we will get extra information on tools that you may need, right, to screw them on. You also have access to the schematics, again, like before. So if you are wondering about something, where it actually comes from, you can see where the components are. So it's a nice tie back to the schematics. But if your intention is just to wire them up and we have them prefabricated, just start again with the shortest one, and you should be able to just see this as a source and this as a target. Do not get mistaken. The plus OPB is just a confirmation that you are in the main location OPB, and the device is called F2, fuse number 2, and B is actually the connection point that you have to connect to. And then on this side here, it's a terminal strip called TB_12VAC. That's the name of the terminal strip. 8 is the terminal, and 1 is actually the connection of the terminal. This terminal has 1, 2, 3, and 4 as the ending connection point designation here. You can also see the wire designation being 114 minus 23 or hyphen 23. It is a multi-standard conductor that we produce at the WT at thewireprint.com. There we go. So in some cases, the wire is a very short wire, like this one here. I'm going to go into a little bit longer wires, and you will see that the actually the routing from this first device going over boop, 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 going over there is a little bit longer, right? And we can also see there is a small extra information. You can see AEH, this is a regular ferro crimp. And in other cases here, strip is basically because it's just being stripped. I could actually have a ring terminal. I could have a fork, a U-shell type of terminal. These are all in this description here. And again, this is a little bit bigger. It's a 2.5 millimeter square, which happens to be 14 American wire gauge in this multi-standard SC 2.1 from LAP. What else do we have here? So we have, like I said, the source, the target, and the idea is, of course, as you start installing it, you start installing the first one. You can see the status going to yellow, and then you do the second one, and bingo, it goes to the next wire. Now, if you actually receive these wires on a wire rail from wireprint.com, you will be able to actually do one wire after the other because they will be exactly handed out to you exactly in that particular order. So it will make your life a lot easier to do the wiring one by one. It's kind of a no-brainer also because anyone can help. We can be 2 people, 3 people at the same time, clicking in here and taking one wire and installing it. And this wire installing that we have here, or also called wire landing, will take roughly a minute to a minute and a half, maximum 2 minutes. So this means after your initial assembly, you can count the number of wires we have up here, 226, and I can pretty much say that anywhere between 226 and 300 minutes, this complete project will be handled. Now, another thing that is also interesting to know about the smart connection, the people that do the wiring, okay, also have the right to lock down a wire. If they see something wrong, like the color is or the gauge is wrong, you can always lock it up. Put your comments in here like we did before, you know, put the comment, wrong color. And of course, engineering can, at due times, do the corrections in EPLAN, pump it back into Smart Production. So it's really cool because you can also see who actually did it, when he did it, and you can communicate with that person. Now, once you have a couple of wires, I only have 6 wires done, the status is there. You can also filter for components or colors if you want to. So if you want to do all the 1 millimeter or the 12 gauges, which actually are not prefabricated by the machine WT, those ones I will have to pre-cut at 231 millimeters, put the wire tags on, put the crimps on, because those ones could not be produced in the WT. You can see those, and as you move forward and you just basically have them done, you just confirm their installation, and there it's done. The idea at the end of the day is you can use smart wiring in this particular instance here, which is my first build, to check the wires. So somebody at any point in time can go into check mode. So of course, when you turn on the check mode, you have to be all by yourself. And you can see here, we have a few of these wires that have a question mark. And the idea is for someone to come and check if indeed it was installed. Again, this particular person usually loves to see how the schematics is done and how they got this information from the schematics. You can cross-check this information back to the schematics. And as you move forward and you confirm that the wire has been done, you just move to the next one and to the next one. And you can check them one by one like this very quickly. And as they are checked, everyone else knows they are checked. If 2 of them haven't been checked because you get called off from the job, no problem. You just turn off the so-called check mode and the people can just continue installing the rest of the wires. You will see here by the status, right, what the status is. They will just be checked and installed or just installed. So it's a super easy thing to do. You can sort by any means that you feel more comfortable with. And like I said earlier, when we produce these wires, we sort them by first here the gauge, because they come in a specific rail. So all the 1 millimeters are together, all the 2.5 millimeters are together. And then you go by length, and the shortest length will be the first wire. You can check out some videos about this on the Wireprint WT, how it actually produces with a wire cart. And you will see if you need more information about this, It's certainly competitive with you trying to fabricate these wires one by hand, because the machine just simply does it quicker, and most likely with wireprint.com cheaper than you can do them on your side. So I hope this helped you actually understand how the smart wiring can be produced. Of course, there are a couple of more icons. I have not done everything, every single icon that is out here. You can, of course, try it out. You'll figure it out by yourself. And a thing that is interesting, if you have two screens, some people actually do have two screens. I don't have one right now. You can use this button here on the bottom right-hand side, and it will actually extract the graphics from the table here, which is kind of nice because it gives you a deeper look on the graphics itself. And one thing that sometimes people actually ask myself is, how do you get to get closer or not as far? You can zoom in, zoom out here using just the plus and the minus. You can do the rotation. It's kind of easy. You just click and drag, right? And then it rotates. It's as if you take the panel and rotate it, you release, kind of thing. You want to put it back because you just screwed it up, you know, somehow like this. You just click here on this dot in the center of the plus and the minus, and there we go. We have it back centered. And of course, if you are on a specific device, you just click here or here, and it's going to center right onto the device. It's going to show you exactly where to connect, assuming the routing was done properly in EPLAN. This is really a cool, super efficient feature. Smart production from Smart Wiring from EPLAN. Thank you. This was Roland from EPLAN Canada. If you like these videos, I try to shoot one a week. I can't really do it one a week, but if you like them, please subscribe, and I'll try to do as many as I can. If you have some ideas, just please comment and ask me what you'd like to do. I do not replace, unfortunately, trainings, because what a trainer can do with his experience, I can't really shoot this in 12 minutes YouTube videos. But as you can see, this one is a little bit longer, 22 minutes. I hope it helped you out. This was smart production and two sides to it, smart mounting or smart wiring. Hope it could help you. Thank you. Bye.